This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and we put all the code in place in our template to enable us to add the fancy box feature to any page we want. So let's go back to our home page. We'll get started there. So I'm going to scroll on down. I'm going to close up these folders so we don't have a whole lot of open folders to look at. And our home page, as you recall, is our index page. So let's open up our index page. And I'm going to switch to Design View. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to highlight one of these words and I will link it to an image. In our previous module we highlighted text and we linked it to YouTube videos. Linking something to an image is pretty easy. We also linked images when we built our gallery site, right? We linked each image to itself so that when you clicked on an image, it would open that image in a new window. So I'm just going to arbitrarily highlight the humble pencil, okay? And I want to link that to an image. And as we recall, all we have to do to link up an image is assign it to a link here in our property inspector. When we were linking to external web pages, we just typed in the web address here and the link. When we were linking to files, we were using this very handy browse for file function. So let's use that. And I'm going to go to images, and I'm just going to choose an image that we already have from our gallery maybe. Let's open up our gallery. The humble pencil. What's going to be a good picture of a pencil? Maybe this is a good picture of a pencil, these 4 pencils. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to give it a title, and the title will be the humble pencil. Oops. And target, we always want to leave target equal to blank, right? So let's preview this in our web browser. And of course we want to save changes. Okay, here we go. So here is our home page, and we can see that the humble pencil, as I hover over it, it's slightly a slightly different color. We can see our text property working for us because we get that little pop-up that says the humble pencil. And when I click on it, our image opens up in a new window. We've seen this before when we worked with our gallery site. So we're going to switch back to Dreamweaver. So here's what we're going to do. Our text, the humble pencil, has an anchor around it. We can look in our status bar and see the anchor. And we're going to make our anchor a member of the fancy box class. To do this, we need to switch to code view so we can actually separate our anchor from the actual text. I'm going to give us a little bit more room here. I'm going to collapse to icons. So you can see in my text, you will be as impressed with, and this is our anchor, right? Our anchor tag begins with the A. And then it says H reference. What are we anchoring to? An image. What's the title of our image? The humble pencil. And then we set the target to blank. This is our anchor. Then we have the text, the humble pencil, and then we close the anchor. So this is where we want to be making the change. We're making the change not to the text, the humble pencil, but to the anchor. And we want to make this anchor a member of the fancy box class. So to do that, we can just click down here in our property inspector and assign it to a class. And when we do that, we get this nice long pop-up. And I'm going to scroll up, and as a result of adding in our fancy box CSS, we now have a long list of fancy box classes. We didn't have these before. And the one that we want to choose is just plain basic fancy box, okay? So when we do that, this is what we've done. This is our anchor. It says the anchor. This is what our anchor is referencing, the image. The title is the humble pencil. The target is blank. And this is the new line of code that's been added. This is what's been changed. Class equals fancy box. And now we're going to preview in our web browser. Do you want to save changes? Yep. So what's the difference of making this line of text, the humble pencil, this anchor? What happens when we assign this to the fancy box class? If I click on the humble pencil, now the image opens in front of us. We don't need to go to a new web page. The background is darkened, And we've got this nice big sharp clear image, and we stay right on the same page. So this is what an image modal does. I'm sure you've seen this before on a web page. You'll notice that in the bottom underneath our pencils it says the humble pencil. It says the humble pencil because that is the title that we set for our attribute. When we created our link, we gave it a title of the humble pencil. That's why this says the humble pencil. We've got this little X icon up here in the upper right hand corner to close this modal. This actual image is in that folder called FancyBox that we added to our images folder. That's why we needed to drag that folder over, because FancyBox needs to get access to this little graphic. So if I go back to Dreamweaver real quick, and our title attribute, we set our title attribute to the humble pencil. I could call it 4 pencils. Okay, and I've changed my text. I'm going to go over here and say preview in Chrome. Dreamweaver's going to say, do you want to save the changes? And we go, yep, we want to save the changes. And now notice when I click on the humble pencil, the title now reads 4 pencils. So whatever we set for our title attribute, that's going to be the title that we see when we click on our image. As you can see, this is real handy. Now let's have a look real quick. I'm going to scroll up to the top. We have our gallery page, right? And we have all these images, and right now when we click on these images, they open in a new window. But wouldn't it be a lot nicer if we could use that FancyBox feature on all of our images here in the gallery? Now we could do that. Let's close up our index page, and I'm going to go back to my files, and I want to open up my gallery page. Now there are 2 different ways we could do this. We could click on each image and then assign each image individually to be a member of the FancyBox class, and then we could type in the title that we want for our image. And we already have images, we already have a title property for the image we're linking to, but we need to add a title property here. And we have 8 images, and it would take us a little while to do this. Or we could use jQuery to do all of the work for us. And I'm going to show you how we can use jQuery to do all the work for us. We already have FancyBox added to this class, right, because we added it to our template. So if we look up here, we can see FancyBox is already in place. So we're going to scroll down, and we have this line of code here around 102. It says instance editable add script, and this is where we add script just to run on one particular page. So I'm going to hit the enter key a couple times just to give myself some room, and I'm going to go to files, and I'm going to look in my tutorial folder, and I'm going to double click on our text files. Right, we've used our text files before. These are our handy files that have text that we can use. And if I scroll down and if I look at module 6, here's an extra copy of what we need for our FancyBox, but the script that we want to copy is this copy right here. It says jQuery to add FancyBox functions. This is kind of like what we did with the navigation, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to copy this code, and I'm going to go back to my gallery page, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose paste, and I'm going to highlight this and just hit the tab key once just to keep everything lined up, just to make it look pretty. Doesn't affect how it works at all. And let's click on our little globe and say preview in Chrome. Do you want to save changes? Yeah, let's save the changes. And now when we click on our pencil, it automatically opens up in a large window for us, and we have these little left and right arrows that take us to each image. And the titles that we added for each image now show up at the bottom of the images as well. That is super handy, isn't it? We can just continue to cycle through all of our images. As you can see, this is a really powerful tool. It saved us the trouble of typing and entering all that code by hand, and just did the whole thing for us automatically. So if you want to learn more about this kind of really awesome, time-saving, super cool web programming, be sure to sign up for cs952, the JavaScript class. But we're going to take a break now, and we're going to come back and we're going to add images to our image carousel.